This is Cité Soleil, Haiti's most violent and rejected neighborhood. It's a place of rebellion, confusion, and grinding poverty. Once the richest nation in the Caribbean, it's now the poorest. 80% of Haitians are out of work. Hopeful and desperate for change, the country's celebrating the election of their new president, René Préval, an ally of former dictator Aristide. Préval has now inherited what amounts to a failed state, where kidnapping is now the only growth industry. It's the kidnap capital of the world, where abductions have now escalated to more than 160 a month. Human rights campaigners like Anne Sossin are overwhelmed.
In some war zones, you'd find less violence than you find in Cité Soleil. Violence is very commonplace, and it's not only men in armed gangs that are involved in violence. The whole population becomes dragged into this situation, you might say. You see children that are armed, you see women that are forced in some way to participate in this type of violence.
The aggression is fueled by racial tension. The black majority feel abandoned by the French-speaking elite, with 1% of them controlling more than half the country's wealth. Rioting is an inevitable consequence. Cité Soleil Primary School lies at the heart of this festering slum, where more than 1,000 women have reported being raped in the last year. And all around us are the houses where dozens of kidnap victims are brought daily, while the local residents are paid off to turn a blind eye. Despite their dire poverty, 11-year-old Loubert and his 7 siblings are making the best of life. Loubert's never met his father, is unlikely to go to school, and lives in constant fear of his life. He's grown up here, where 300,000 people are crammed into just 5 square kilometres. Nothing works. It ground to a halt years ago. The water supply overflows with waste, and sewage stagnates in the streets. Each day, Loubert scratches a living selling fish. But for many, crime is the only way to make a living. Everyone's a target. Danny, a wealthy trader, is no exception.
2 guys came up with guns. They kidnapped me and my friend. And there, another group of guys came. They kidnapped me from my first kidnappers. They brought me somewhere in a bunch of little rooms where there were a lot more people that were kidnapped, and there were a bunch of kids with guns.
After 4 days, Danny's family were forced to pay a hefty ransom.
They paid $37,000 US, which is a lot of money. And I got released on my birthday. I prayed a lot, but I never want to go through that again.
It's easy to spot the men responsible for the kidnappings. Less easy to film them. This is Amarel, the godfather of the gangsters, filmed with a hidden camera.
Amarel, can we go and eat together?
Unsurprisingly, Amarel turned down my generous offer of a free lunch. But after some delicate negotiations, I was introduced to a member of his gang who offered to be my guide. He'd lost his leg in a turf war. Through him, I met another kidnapper, T. Blanc, who claims to be a freedom fighter battling for his people.
Can we go somewhere else and have the conversation? Can we go off the street?
Et situation dans le peuple Cité Soleil, et ça c'est un état critique. Et nous-mêmes en tant que militants responsables, la population fait nous crédibles. Et nous bataille pour nous sortir Cité Soleil dans la situation qui était pour nous tirer dans la misère. Et côté bagaille qu'on voit dans le film, la réalité dans la Cité Soleil.
In a country so poor, the economics of kidnapping have become irresistible, with many gangs carrying out the dirty work of Haiti's political factions. In fact, it was President Préval's local campaign manager who first introduced me to the gang leader Amarel. It would seem Préval has the ability to turn the kidnappings on or off. Victims agree that politicians are behind many of the kidnappings. One, a former public servant, was too scared to show his face, but blames the previous government.
It's very well known that there are members of this interim government who have been very, very steeply involved in kidnapping as well as other types of crime, and who had gangs on their payroll. Documents do exist to substantiate this. It's very well known that they have been involved in arming death squads.
Whoever's paying them, the gang members are clearly busy. The following day, amid the chaos of the city's only hospital, I bumped into T. Blanc again. He's keen to show me his gang's battle wounds. Médecins Sans Frontières doctor Alessandra Aglino explains the grim reality of the situation.
In November we received 34 wounded by gunshot, in December 80, and in January 103.
Even around the hospital there are a lot of shootings with that.
Yeah, actually the 19th of January the pediatric ward was targeted by 3 bullets and we had to evacuate all the children.
But the hospital director has his own ideas about who's to blame for the violence.
Je pense qu'avec l'arrivée de la situation devient plus difficile. Nous avons près de 50% que nous recevons, c'est des gens qui recevons balles de MINUSTA. Les militaires ont tiré, généralement, ils n'ont pas des cibles, ils n'ont pas de cible, ils ont tiré comme ça, et puis généralement, c'est petits monde, femmes, comme nous avons des jeunes monde qui sont victimes, tout, comme nous avons des grands monde qui sont victimes.
Surprisingly, he points the finger at the 9,000 UN peacekeepers who are supposed to be protecting the ordinary Haitians.
It is the impact of one of the bullet.
This was a UN bullet?
Yeah.
Some UN troops are accused of indiscriminate killings in the slums and even involvement in kidnappings. But it's hard to know whom to trust or what to believe in this place. When I turned to film a mother giving birth, the hospital director sneaked off to meet with the gang leaders. It seems no one escapes the grip of the gangs, from the cradle to the grave. Even this birth wasn't a happy occasion, as the mother was a victim of rape. The people direct their anger at the UN's Jordanian battalion, stationed at the centre of Cité Soleil. This woman lives close by and has often been caught in the crossfire.
This minister.
Minister means United Nations. They're regarded as trigger-happy.
Minister, vote! 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 Vote!
Mobilisez!
T. Blanc voices the people's frustrations.
Et après un an, des ans résistance, que yo tué nous c'est pas capable encore.
But the UN claims some Jordanian outposts have been hit by as many as 1,000 rounds a day, fired by the gang members. What's clear is that despite using considerable force, the UN has not been able to clamp down on the kidnappers and thugs. Adding to the chaos, the police openly admit that 25% of their force is involved in serious crime, including kidnappings, rape and killing.
We've also seen an increase in summary executions. especially in poor neighborhoods. We've seen an increase in violations directed against women by police officers. So things are really quite bad.
Police death squads have executed hundreds of civilians over the past 2 years. Anyone with any money is a target. Kesnor de Rossia was snatched a week before his wedding.
Alors, je suis la banque, c'est Capital Bank. J'ai gagné un dépôt là. Je fait un tirage de $3,000 américains. Et puis, c'est quelqu'un qui prend une arme, il plaque l'âme, et puis l'autre là qui est comme ça, et puis il met l'autre arme là tout. Et puis, je suis très étonné. Mais il a gagné mon agent de sécurité, on mettait des gilets. Et puis ensuite, j'ai un fiancé qui connaît à madame. Je dis à lui même tout. Donc, je fais des rêves noirs.
Kesnor was forced to hand over the money, but he escaped with his life after he told them it was for his mother's funeral. The justice system is little better, with many Haitians languishing in jails without charges or trials.
I was taking a plea in front of Unibank, and the commissaire get me in here since January 1st with a charge of trespassing charge. Since I've been here, I never seen my judge. I never went to the courtroom. They never got me questioned upstairs. I just been doing time for nothing.
Not surprisingly, the police have little respect in Cité Soleil, and for 2 years have been driven out by the gangs, who now command the streets.
We gonna fuck that shit up. Even said, but we gonna break that shit. Even you win, nigga, gonna get fucked up. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't got no more to say no more.
Haiti now has a new democratically elected government, but few believe it will make much difference. Many here fear that President Préval's grip on power is tenuous, that a return to anarchy is inevitable. The UN continues to issue assurances that peacekeepers are doing their best to impose order. But for the people of Cité Soleil, like Loubert and his friends, the gangs remain. Alternating between predator and protector, the gangsters remain the only real authority these children will ever see.